Let me start off the Acumatica Lunch and Learn series provided by CIL Business Solutions here. We are so happy that you've been able to, share some time with us today. Hopefully you'll enjoy the Grub Hub and get some lunch, for today. You have to use the Grub Hub, today. So either sometime this afternoon or by the evening. So I just want to make sure that you take advantage of that. And again, it's our thank you for joining us here. So the Acumatica webinar today is, like I say, a continuing series from CAL to, in most cases, I think everybody who's on this call is a current GP customer, to Acumatica, which is the fastest, true born in the cloud ERP solution. Cal has been using, the solution now for almost 6 years. We were on Great Plains for 22 years previous to that. We absolutely love the product. Certainly loved Great Plains, but I can honestly say that if you were to make a decision to move to Acumatica, I think you would be as happy as I am. As the business owner, it has been a great solution. There doesn't seem to be anything that you can think of that Acumatica can't do. I use that, a little tongue in cheek, but I know at Cal we've done so many things and automated, collection services and automated all kinds of support processes, and the product is just stepped up to the plate every time. So I'll leave it at that. Today's session is really geared towards, really showcasing Acumatica as a more modern ERP system that can transform, your business to what we call the digital world. And I'll spend a quick minute on what I mean by the digital world. And honestly, with the visibility and the functionality and the workflow and all the things that Stacey's going to show you, it absolutely gives you a better visibility to your business, easier to work with, easier to access, from any device. It just makes sense, as this world is changing, and we move more to a digital world, and Acumatica truly fits that bill, where as much as we love GP, we can't transform an analog system like GP into a more modern digital product because it can't, because it was developed 27 years ago. It does a good job. It does the heavy lifting, every month, and creating financials and things like that. But there's just so much more you can do with a solution, cloud solution like Acumatica. So some of the things we're going to touch on here today is we're going to look a little bit at some automations for accounts payable and AR. Being that it's got integrated credit card processing built right into the core of the system, you can just, you can get payments, from your customers just that much easier, and in many cases can save on some of those processing fees and reduce your percentage. The dashboards that Stacey's going to touch on, I don't hardly run reports anymore. I mean, literally go to my dashboards and I drill down from those dashboards into the details. It just changes the way in which you consume information and how you see your business. And then, we all know about, FRX or Management Reporter, whatever tool you're using. Acumatica's tool feels just like, FRX or Management Reporter. And FRX, in some cases, was a better tool than as far as Microsoft developed MR or Management Reporter. I mean, they just didn't, they stopped developing that solution in 2012. So, again, all the best of FRX, but it's in the same user interface as the core Acumatica solution, which just makes it a better tool and much easier to work with, much faster. And then we're going to talk a little bit about expense management. Every business has expense management, and some people put Concur on their system, or there's some of these other add-ons. Within Acumatica, because of its platform, all that can be done inside Acumatica. So that being said, I'm just going to jump to the next screen here. 1 minute. Okay, so the agenda here is we got started about a little, after 1. I'm going to do the overview. Stacey's going to do the demo, and then we're going to wrap up with any questions that you might have. And we should be finishing up probably around 2:15 or 2:20. So when we say GP is analog and Acumatica is digital, what does that really mean? In a simple sense, when you look at this particular slide, I mean, GP is an analog business solution. It was developed 27 years ago. Most of the reports are, for all intents and purposes, text-based reports. You can get into some things, some graphical things, using, SQL reporting services, but there's really no tools to create dashboards and things like that. You got to do an add-on. And then to a certain extent, the middle slide with modern technology, I would go as far as to say that technology stage, has been happening over the last 10 or 15 years. But for all intents and purposes, GP has not been able to really jump into that phase because it doesn't have mobile technology. It doesn't have the ability to be able to access it from anywhere, anytime, through a browser. You either have to use terminal services or you have to remote desktop. Again, that's been maybe the technology phase for the last 15 years. Acumatica, truly fits in the digital business model because it has a different platform. It came into the market around 2010, after all our websites had to become let's call it mobile friendly, be able to work on a browser or be able to work on a tablet, didn't have to run on a computer laptop or something like that. But where Acumatica even takes it further is when we get into, when we call OCR, optical character recognition, or artificial intelligence. This, actually, Stacey's going to show that in the demo. So when I look at where GP is, they're really in the analog box. They've never been able to really kind of be in that modern technology because, again, the suite of and the platform that it was developed on, wasn't able to take advantage of any of that, sector. Yeah, you can add on some add-ons that might give you a little more mobile flexibility, but I mean, GP itself cannot. Where Acumatica is truly a digital cloud-based solution. Acumatica, for those that haven't seen it before, we sometimes show this slide that Acumatica has editions. I mean, they have a commerce edition for businesses that do a lot of business on the web, e-commerce. There's a construction edition, so those that might need to have projects or control some kind of long-term construction process. There's an edition for that. Distribution edition. Most of the folks on this call are more in the financial area, but there's a distribution edition, and then there's also a manufacturing edition. So I also like to always say the other thing that I really love, and I know Cal uses it, is not only are we using all of the Acumatica modules, but we're also using an integrated CRM. So if you have the need to track leads or opportunities or even contacts and things on a detailed basis, there's an integrated CRM solution that works directly with Acumatica. It's not an add-on. It is literally integrated into the fabric of the core financial and all of these additions. So what makes Acumatica different? Well, that middle box is really the key. Acumatica Cloud XRP platform. So when Acumatica started on developing its solution, it needed to build what they call a building layer block that everything could be built on. Think of it a house of a foundation. You're building everything above it. So whatever you put down for the foundation is what you might have to work with. So when we look at that XRP platform, I mean, it wasn't just a language and the ability to do AP screen or accounts payable or receivables. It had the ability to embed into that building block layer other things like document management, the security, the multi-tenant, which basically means when you're running multiple companies, you can run them separately. It built in a mobile framework, because in 2010, we were already, our websites, and we had smartphones, and you had to go to the website, so we needed responsive design. Responsive design means that when you go to look at a customer screen or any of those screens, it needed to automatically respond to the size of the device that was doing the inquiry. So Acumatica has that built in. When you get into workflows and APIs, yes, you can do some workflows in GP, but it actually uses a different tool set to do that. The ability to customize, the ability to build analytics, dashboards, things like that, all built into the building block layer of the system. So then everything above it, the financials, which include, all your normal accounting modules, general ledger, accounts payable, banking, accounts receivable. Then you have your other core modules if you're selling something, your inventory, your order management, your project, your time and expense if you're doing project. And then all these modules get mixed into different editions, which we already covered on the other slide: distribution, commerce, manufacturing, field service. All of that is built on top of it. And then below it is the same database that GP uses, which is SQL Server. But the one thing that also makes Acumatica unique is we can deploy that in a SaaS model, meaning that you never have to have a server again. You don't have to worry about security and all that. Or we could put it in the Azure cloud, or you could run it on your own private servers, using the subscription models. And the beauty of that layer, XRP platform, Acumatica utilized all of the Microsoft common tool sets, Visual Studio, .NET Framework, C#, and ASP.NET and HTML5. So all of the core Microsoft technologies and tools that Microsoft have were used to develop it. So same database as GP, ability to move it to the cloud or run it wherever, and then state-of-the-art Microsoft technologies for the development platform. Acumatica, again, fastest growing, over 10,000 customers worldwide already, and their SaaS environment is processing literally millions and millions of transactions every month. We talked a little bit about public and private cloud when I was talking about before, but what we mean by public cloud is that if you run their SaaS instance, you're going to be running in AWS, the Amazon Web Services environment. That's where Acumatica hosts all those 10,000 customers. By chance, if you are a shop that wants to run Acumatica, let's say on your own servers, and maybe have access to the SQL Server in the background, you can subscribe to the software and run it on any server you want, whether that be an Azure server or at one of your IT partners or a Rackspace or wherever. You build your own servers and run it there. So again, very flexible deployment model. This screen I think kind of tells us, when we talk about the digital world, I mean, look at how we're connected these days to everything. I mean, whether it's our watch, whether it's a phone, whether it's a tablet, whether it's something like Alexa, I mean, literally Acumatica has demonstrated the core application being used on all of these devices. I mean, so pretty impressive. I mean, can you do on GP? You pretty much have one choice, okay, and that's to run on a laptop, okay, and how you interact with it. This is probably the next biggest thing: security. I can tell you that we've had three customers last year that were running on their own servers, and with latest technology and outside IT services, and they were hacked and held for ransom. When you talk about going to the cloud, you don't have to worry about that anymore. Amazon Web Services is probably actually even larger in some respects than Microsoft in terms of working with the government. So the fact that you're running in an AWS environment, all of those environments are constantly upgraded, to the latest security. So if security is key to you, then this definitely will give you peace of mind, and it also removes a big burden for you to have to worry about upgrading your servers, keeping the patches done, make sure all the Microsoft updates take place. I mean, that is a very complicated scenario, and in many cases, costs a lot of money to be able to do it properly. This slide kind of, I think, brings together the difference between being in an analog world and being in the cloud. And what I mean by that is that cloud to cloud interactions, because when you're Acumatica being a cloud product, having an API, application programmer interface, it makes it so much easier for that core solution to talk to almost anyone. Okay, it's like speaking a standard language, the API. This is just a slide that really talks about all of the out-of-the-box connections that are available, with Acumatica. Many of these things can you connect GP to Power BI? You can, but it's not easy. You have to go through a thing called eConnect, and it's not easy. If you wanted to put Avalara in, yeah, Avalara will work with GP, but again, it's not easy. And a lot of times the connectors that you have to create are complicated, and they take more, where these are more out of the box, meaning that I don't want to say it's just a matter of flipping a switch, but it's definitely much easier to do to connect with all these other solutions, especially like the e-commerce platforms. Authorized.net, which is over there on the left. I mean, that's credit card processing. I mean, that Authorized.net is a gateway for credit cards. If you want to do credit cards on GP, GP doesn't have that. You have to go to Notice, and it's about a $10,000 connection that you have to do. Authorized.net is built right into Acumatica. I mean, you pay your registration fee, which I think some clients have said is like $199, and you can process credit cards. You know what I mean? There are also other credit card add-ons that will actually not only connect just as seamlessly, but will also look at how you tokenize that information, and because of that, can actually reduce your percentages that you have to pay when you select any kind of payment coming from the customer. So again, cloud to cloud interaction is always going to be less complicated, less costly, because again, we're talking modern technology to modern technology. So just in a recap real quick, Acumatica is built on the latest cloud technology. There are other cloud products out there, but many of those other cloud products are as much as 10 to 12 years even older than Acumatica. So being a cloud solution offers anywhere, any device, simple browser. Acumatica again has a very simple model. They have a small business edition that comes in 5 and 10 users, but once you go to their advanced edition, there's what they call unlimited users based on a resource level, which means you don't have to count which people are coming in, which people have access. Within that resource model, it'll support that resource model, and they don't keep track of each user. I mean, we talked about the flexibility of choice running, whether you want to run it in a SaaS environment or the private cloud. We talked a lot about the additions, seamless integration to Exchange 365, Outlook, Power BI. Matter of fact, Power BI, when Microsoft came out with that probably 8 to 10 years ago, the first company on the stage to support Power BI out of the box was Acumatica. So it just kind of shows how flexible the newer platform is compared to old system. We didn't talk about your data, but the nice thing about Acumatica, even if you're running in their cloud, at any point, any day, any hour, you can take a snapshot of your data in that cloud, and then you could even load a local version of Acumatica, which is a 2-user version, load a SQL Server on a laptop, and you literally load that 2-user version that matches the version you're running in the cloud, and you can literally move your data and the SQL Server database onto your local local instance that you're running Acumatica there. So you always have access to your data. Your data should be your data. Most of these other cloud vendors, when you go to them and you want your data back, or you want to get off their services, they'll give you back the data. Maybe you can do some downloads into Excel and and sometimes they'll give it to you in a tab delimited format, but you don't ever get access to the back-end SQL database. With Acumatica, because you can load that version locally, which then gives you access to all your data and all your history. So very different solution. Again, it's a modern, born in the cloud versus client server, true web browser versus terminal server or remote. The API, interface, GP to this day does not have an API. I mean, it has a thing called eConnect, but that's not an industry standards tool. That's a proprietary tool. The report writer, the fact that it looks and feels and operates very much like FRX, but it's built into the same user interface, makes Acumatica's financial reporting much superior in terms of running in the speed and how quickly it gets things. We take advantage of, you'll see the AI, the artificial intelligence and the machine learning that Stacey's going to show you. And again, it's a much more modern looking interface. I think when you see it, if you haven't seen it already, you'll be really impressed in how easy, you can, go and select and customize how you do things. You have dashboards, pivot tables, all in the core solution. It's just a great experience. I'll just leave it at that. We do have the ability for our GP customers only. And again, I say it expires 30 days after any webinar we have. You have the ability to get this discount. Now, this discount does not apply to the small business edition, which is the 5-user or the 10-user, because that's already been discounted. Okay, and that we also have experience, where we've converted not only ourselves but a number of clients so far. We're just starting to see a lot of people thinking about moving from GP to Acumatica. So we know that we know your databases really well, makes the conversion straightforward. And again, we switched over 5 years ago, and I think I already said it was probably the best thing we could have done for our business. So that being said, let's see Acumatica in action.
All right, so thanks, George, for that informative kickoff. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Stacey Pohl. Worked with Cal for the past 10 years. Made the switch to implement and support Acumatica 5 years ago when we started this journey ourselves. So I'm very excited to take you through some of the benefits that we've seen throughout our journey in Acumatica. So I'm going to log into our demo environment today, just to kind of piggyback off of what George had said. Acumatica does run in a web browser. So I am using Chrome for my browser today for today's demonstration. So I'm going to pop in and I'm going to sign into Acumatica here. Okay. So when a user logs into Acumatica, they have the ability to customize their home screen so that Acumatica opens up to any form, any screen within the system. I've set my screen here to the AP Clerk dashboard. And I'm going to be working off of the premise that I am employee Maxwell Baker, and I'm an AP clerk here within the organization. Now, George mentioned that Acumatica has powerful built-in dashboards, custom dashboards that you can build yourself within the platform. And I think in years past, right, when you think about dashboarding, it was more like executives, right, that would be looking at, dashboards to really evaluate the overall health, right, of an organization. Well, Acumatica has really taken this to the next level, and they actually have a lot of out-of-the-box dashboards that are available to you to use, to enhance, that go beyond kind of just, executives or management really evaluating that health of a business. And they get down to kind of like a job position or a user within the organization, such as this AP clerk. And what this dashboard is doing, and we're going to kind of step through this, is it's really telling a story of what the AP clerk needs to do throughout the day across the various functions within their job. Now, as we look at this dashboard for the AP clerk, we can see that it's broken down into these different widgets that you're seeing. And these widgets can be developed in all different forms. They could be like these little KPI boards that we're seeing. Acumatica has different types of charts that you can create. You're seeing here, we've got, you know, our pie chart or line charts, all the typical charts that you would see in like a BI or, you know, Tableau type of a tool. You could even incorporate tables or even links to other URLs. So I got customers where they're actually displaying a page from another URL that they want their employees to you know, have focus on. We have this board broken up, again, AP clerk, into some different categories. One being all the different tasks around AP documents, information around AP payments in the system, their AR aging, top 10 vendors that you have balances with. Here you've got a line chart so you can kind of see your trend of your AP activity by period. And then again, if we've got some purchasing trends. So the goal with this dashboard was really, again, to provide my AP clerk with all the information that they need to be able to do their job. Up across the top, I actually have some buttons: enter payables, process incoming documents, and so on. These are links to the most common screens that we feel like an AP clerk would be accessing throughout the day. Okay. Any of these widgets that we're looking at here on our dashboard do give you the ability to drill into them. So as an AP clerk, I'm logging in here for, you know, the first time today, and, you know, I'm kind of scanning my widgets to see what's going on with the data that I'm responsible for. And for example, I see, hey, I've got a document on hold. I can click into that widget. It's going to bring me directly to that transaction that's on hold, where right from here, I can take action on that widget. So I could open the transaction if I wanted to, and I can go ahead and edit or, you know, remove and release that. I still have my dashboard open over here. Again, I'm not losing my navigation to that. That's staying open in another tab, so I can easily pull that up. Now, as the day goes on, I've got new transactions being entered, or I have transaction that I've taken action on. These widgets are going to be updating automatically. So as part of the design for the dashboard, within the widget itself, when you build it, you can say how often you want that particular widget to refresh, which means there's no need for the user to have to go up to their browser and refresh or reload the entire page. It will happen automatically behind the scenes here per widget. So I think that's pretty cool. All right, so we're going to start today by just showing you how we're going to go enter a quick AP bill. Now, again, I don't need to leave my dashboard. Of course, I could navigate if I wanted to my payables module and open up my bill screen. But right from my dashboard, that one of those common screens that I'm always working in, I have a quick link to it where I can say, hey, I've got some bills that I want to go and enter. So that's going to bring me directly to my bills and adjustments screen. Shut down that other form I was working on, where I'm able to go ahead and enter my AP bill. So one thing that I absolutely love about Acumatica is its searching capabilities. Like GP, right, you've got a magnifying glass and you can bring up a list of customers or vendors or whatever kind of record you're looking for, and you could search on it. But I also have the ability right from within this field, without utilizing the lookup, I can just start typing in whatever portion of either the vendor ID or the name of the vendor that I'm looking for. And Acumatica is going to use that keyword like a Google search would use the keyword, and it's going to present me with a subset of data that contains that keyword that I just entered. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull in my vendor AA services, and I'm going to, I can go ahead and change my document date to the invoice date. enter my invoice number in here. I can put a description here of what the purchase was for if I wanted to. And then I'm going to kind of come down into this grid area here. Now with GP, when you're entering a payables voucher, unless you're using a purchase order, right? And just the standard AP module when you're vouchering, you do not have the ability to key in an invoice at a line level. You're just doing a lump sum. Yes, you can go into your distributions and break out that lump sum into different GL accounts, but you can't break down your purchases, right, by line level. Acumatica's bills and adjustment screen does allow for that detailed vouchering right out of the box. Now, I could have some non-stock items, again, maybe office supplies I set up as a non-stock item that I can pull in if I want to, enter my quantity, and it is pulling the last cost from the office supply purchase that was used last time. I could certainly override that. Okay, and it is pulling the account number from that non-stock item. Now, again, Acumatica offers flexibility. I don't have to have items set up in the system. I could just come over here and I could just enter a cost. Again, kind of like what you would do in GP, just entering a cost without an item. All right. And then the account number here is being pulled from the vendor. We have a default account on the vendor, but of course I could always override that account with the applicable expense account here. All right. Now, the way the account structure is set up foundationally in Acumatica is it does break out your natural account, which is what is highlighted here, from your sub-accounts. So in GP, right, it's one big string. It's got all your different segmentation for your sub-accounts all embedded into the same string as your natural account number. And what that causes companies to have to do is basically have to recreate an account for that natural account over and over and over again, which causes your chart of accounts to grow into the thousands, sometimes even tens of thousands I've seen. So with the way Acumatica has your chart of accounts structured, right, you only have to set up your natural account once. You create the different combinations of sub-accounts that you want people to be able to use within the organization, and then you can mix and match and marry the two together here. Right? So here I'll just hit F3. So here you can see my first sub-account segment represents a product line that I could assign. And then the second segment, let's get over here, is a department. So if I wanted to assign a department to that, I could. I'm going to save my bill. Right now it's on hold. I'm going to take it off hold. Now, in Acumatica, there is flexibility of being able to easily add approvals to basically any transaction in the system. Here in the AP module, we do have AP approvals set up here. We have a couple tiers. We have one tier where if it's over $500, up to $10,000, we have an approver named Regina assigned to that. Anything over $10,000 and above, there's a different approver, Michael Andrews. And then we have this configured where if the bill was less than $500, it would not require an approver at all. Okay. So because this hit the $500 threshold, when I took it off hold, you'll notice that my status went to pending approval. So it's not allowing me to post or release this transaction until it's been approved. Now, if I go over to my approvals tab, here's where you can see the user or the employee that the transaction was assigned to from an approval process. Now, we also have emailing configured so that as soon as we submit this or take this off a hold and it goes into that pending approval state, an email is going out to Regina, letting her know that she has a pending approval. So if I go over to my all emails, okay, we can see that there was a bill waiting for her approval there. Just going to hit save and then that will kick off. Actually, that was the last one we did. Okay, so here's her bill waiting for her approval. We have a schedule running every 1 minute that's actually going to send this pending email out to Regina, letting her know that she needs to approve. Okay. So now going back to our dashboard here, if I refresh this, and again, this will refresh automatically based on the time frame we have specified, but you can see my widget that I have here went from 4 documents that are kind of pending approval to 5. If I drill into that, you're going to see this bill that I just entered right here that's waiting for an approval. So you can see how these dashboards, right, real time, are just updating based on the frequency assigned to those widgets. So I'm going to ask my friend Mark here at Cal, who signed in as Regina, if he can go in and approve this pending invoice so that we can see how the system will behave once that this is approved.
Approved.
Thanks, Mark. All right, so I'm just going to refresh my screen because I did have this open. A couple things I want you to notice is my status here, right? My status went from pending approval to balanced. Balanced means it's ready to be released anytime we're ready to do so. Also, if I go over to my approvals tab here, okay, you'll see here that this approval was assigned to Regina. And then there's an audit history that's showing that Regina did approve, and it gives the date. Okay. Now she does have the ability to, not approve it. She can reject it, which would send notification back to Maxwell Baker that his bill was rejected, and she could enter a reason why if that was the case. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to release that. Okay. So now this bill's been released. It's sitting in my AP, open AP. It hit the general ledger from an accounting perspective. And this is just sitting here now waiting for payment when the time comes. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click my plus button and I'm going to start again real quickly. And I just want to show you, I'll use the same vendor. I just want to show you some functionality where we're actually able to upload the line details here into our bill instead of having to manually type everything. So again, I'm going to go put my vendor reference number in. Now, a good scenario for something like this is maybe your American Express bill. You may be able to take a download, right, of all your transactions from your American Express portal. You can download that to Excel. You may add the proper, account numbers for the different types of transactions. Sometimes that even can occur right within the portal before you download that. But the end result is you have an Excel file, right, that you would love to be able to upload instead of have to manually key in all those transactions from the month. I can do that here by using this little upload button. And then this is going to ask me to go browse out to wherever my file is located. Okay. So I'm going to go pull my file here that I have sitting here, and I'm just going to say upload. Click through a couple screens. Now, the headers or the columns in my Excel file, I was smart. I named them to be the exact name as the fields in Acumatica, right? So if you do the same, name the columns in your file to match the name of the columns in Acumatica, you don't have to do any matching. It matches up the columns in the file to the fields in Acumatica automatically by itself. So I'm just going to click OK because everything matched. And lo and behold, I have all of my details from my statement here now uploaded into this bill. So when I take it off hold and save this, okay, because it was over $500 again, this went to Regina looking for her to approve it, right? So if I go to my emails, refresh that, you'll instantly see that there is another email here pending to go out the next time the schedule runs within the minute, notifying Regina that she has a pending approval. So that's just a little flavor on that file upload. Again, something that GP doesn't have unless you purchase an add-on like Infinia. I want to show you the document recognition piece next here in the AP module. So as part of, the core product, this does not require an add-on whatsoever. Acumatica does have the ability to either take PDF files from vendors that would be emailed into an account that's set up in Acumatica, or you could take files that you're getting just through your own email and you can drag them into Acumatica, and Acumatica is going to read through that PDF file and try to populate your AP bill for you automatically. It's going to be using some document recognition technology to do that. Right. So let me close this down here.
Stacey, I just wanted to add that when Stacey said it's an integrated Acumatica module, but it is a module that you do select if you want this additional functionality that she's going to show you right now. So think of it as it's just again, it's all part of that XAP platform, but it is a module that does cost a little bit more. So if you have the volume of AP bills where this functionality she's going to show you is important, you can add that module or option to accounts payable.
Thanks, George. So I have a widget set up here on my AP clerk dashboard that's basically notifying me anytime a vendor is emailing that email address, again, that we have set up in Acumatica with a PDF file that needs to be processed. So it's got a bill attached to it, basically. So this is a really good indicator, again, for your clerk that if there is a number in there greater than 0, right, there is basically a bill pending that I need to get into the system. So here I see that I have 4 pending bills from my vendors. So I'm going to go and I'm going to start processing these. So I have a quick link right here, process incoming documents. That's going to open up the screen where I can begin reviewing the PDF files, as well as reviewing how Acumatica is kind of reading through those to make sure that it's capturing the information. So I'm going to open up my first invoice here. Now, I'm skipping the step of emailing it in just for the sake of time. But again, as soon as Acumatica receives that PDF email, it will appear in that incoming document. So here we have a bill that I opened up. Okay, the vendor here is called Widget Supply Company. So it's reading through that PDF file, and you can see. Let me just click OK here. And it's going through and it is reading this document here to populate our transaction. Okay, so this is the Widget Supply Company. It came up with a total of 4230. Actually broke out the lines for me here. So if I want to accept this, if this looks okay, then I'm going to say save and continue. And it's going to open up that bills and adjustment screen that we were just in, with all of that information that it scanned into that incoming document screen. Now, you saw this little pop-up note on the previous screen. I just kind of clicked through and you're seeing it again here. What this is this is a pop-up note that we added to the vendor card to remind your users, your AP clerk, that it's in your best interest, right, to pay this bill by ACH because you get the maximum discount when you do that. So this is something else that GP doesn't have. Let me just drill into the vendor for a moment. And on the vendor card, up here in our notes section, here's where you have the ability to control whether or not your notes pop up in the form of a pop-up note or not, anytime you call that vendor up onto a transactional screen. Okay. All right, so here's my bill. Where again it's coming in for the 4230. It's got all the coding for the line level. And if you notice up here in the top right hand corner under our files, let me just go ahead and save this. Not only did that PDF file facilitate, right, the automatic entry of this bill, but it gets attached to the bill. So if you ever want to look at this, or maybe if you have approvals on this and the individual approving needs to see that AP bill, the document is attached automatically here. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to take this off of hold. Okay. And this is going to go to my pending approval state, where we're going to need Regina to go ahead and approve that. The email is going to go out to her notifying her. So Mark, if you can approve that for me. Now I've been releasing my bills one by one. but there is kind of like a batch or a mass processing screen similar to GP where you could have maybe security set up where a different user needs to release all your bills and they can do it all at once. Acumatica does allow for that flexibility.
Regina has approved it.
Thank you, Mark. So I'm in a balanced state. So I am just going to go ahead and release this. All right. So now if I know I had four documents right in the incoming queue. So if I want to move forward and process the next one, I can just click this button here called incoming documents, and it brings me right back to the screen, okay, where you can see I have 3 remaining to process. Notice my first one, right? The one that I did deal with, it's marked as process. It gives me the invoice number link so I could go directly there from the screen if I wanted to. So your AP clerk would just continue moving forward with that process. All right, so going back to my AP dashboard, okay, we're going to talk about the payment side of things a little bit here. So I have 5 payments to process. There's 42 bills to pay. It's telling me what my available cash discounts are, right? If within the next 7 days. So again, some information about basically the bills that are going to be coming due here in the system. So I'm going to just quickly take you through how I'm going to prepare a check run for vendors that are set up to be paid via ACH or EFT. Now at Cal, we've really automated this process, and what I'm going to show you is kind of how we do things within our organization, and we found that this saved us a lot of time versus how things were being done inside of GP today. So I'm going to click my prepare check run, and this is going to bring me to my screen where I'm going to go and I'm going to build out my check batch. Okay, so I think in GP, if I recall, that's actually called build check batch, where you're allowed to set some parameters, and then the system's going to go out, right? And it's going to pull in all the AP bills that meet that criteria. This screen is the equivalent of that. So the first thing I want to do is I want to pull in all my AP bills where the vendor is set up to be paid through ACH. So I'm going to pick my FedWire payment method, which is my ACH payment method. And I'm going to pick my cash account that I'm going to be paying out of. Right? Now, there are some default parameters here where it's just looking, hey, go only pull in bills that are due within the next 7 days. That's why you're seeing these 2 here pop in the grid. If I take off that rule and just open it up, here's where I'm looking at all my bills. Doesn't matter when they come due, right? And it's showing me what needs to be paid. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just actually going to select all of these. Now I could do a select all here, right? Or Acumatica makes it nice and easy. If you want to process everything on your screen, you actually don't even need to make any selection. You can just hit this process all button and it will process everything here within the grid. So I'm going to say process all. Now in GP, doesn't matter if you're, processing 10 bills or 1,000 bills, right? That screen just runs pretty slow. You're sitting there and you're waiting a bit for it to go out and make the selection and calculate everything. You saw how fast this was in Acumatica, and the speed is almost the same again if you're processing hundreds of bills versus the handful that I just pulled in today. So this next screen automatically popped up, okay, where it aggregated all those bills together into a single payment here in the amount of $124,000. Okay. So again, I'm going to say, yep, I'm okay with this. You have the ability to make some changes here and unselect them. If you didn't want to actually process them, I'm going to say process all. So it's going ahead, it's processing them. And then it brings me to my next screen where this is my batch payment or my EFT screen, where again, I have the ability now to finalize the batch of EFT payments. I'll say remove hold. I'm going to release my batch. And then I could go ahead and I can export out my file which is going to download my ACH file, or I have it here as well, in my Nacha file format that I need to upload to the bank. You see how quick and easy that was. Again, you could do this in a matter of just a minute or two versus GP. I don't know how long it's going to take, but a lot longer than that for sure. Okay. Now, there's some things that happen behind the scenes that you didn't see. Okay. When I released this batch of ACH payments, there's a job that we have running that is going out, and it is creating emails to all the vendors. Now, in this case, it's just a single vendor, but it would create an email to every vendor here that's listed, and it's going to attach to that email a vendor remittance form and automatically email your vendors, notifying them of this payment remittance. So if I navigate over to my all email screen, we should see that email hanging out here. Here it is, ACH remittance. The body, the language within this remittance is completely personalizable. But here's where it's saying you're going to find an ACH remittance, gives the reference number, a date. You could include the amount in here if you wanted to, lots of flexibility. But if you go up to the file attachment that your vendor is going to receive, here's your remittance advice for that vendor, showing all of the bills or vouchers that were being paid. So again, a user, they didn't have to do anything. The system, because of the intelligence that we have available to us for configuration, we're able to set this up and just have it automatically kind of run behind the scenes and send out transactions such as this. So I think that's pretty cool. All right, we're going to shift gears a little bit, and we will be coming back to AP, but I want to go over to our expense management module right now, where I'm going to show you how your employees can enter expenses using the mobile app, and how those expenses automatically end up in this AP module that we were just in. Right? So I am going to pull over my screen sharing app over to the screen so that you can see my mobile device. Okay. So Acumatica's app runs on any iOS or Android device, meaning it could be on an iPhone, an iPad, an Android phone, any sort of pad that has an Android operating system. Any of those can download the Acumatica app. So I'm going to log in, and I'm just going to use my face recognition here to log me into this instance of the of Acumatica here. And what you're seeing in the mobile app, again, it's all based on security. I have admin privileges, so I'm seeing a lot of stuff here. But I'm just going to quickly navigate over into my time and expense workspace, where I'm going to come over here and I'm going to record a receipt. Okay, so I can see all the receipts that I've previously recorded. So this employee, Maxwell Baker, is only seeing his receipts. It's filtering out any other employee receipts. So from the screen, I can see the receipts that I processed. I could drill into them by selecting it if I wanted to kind of see the details of those historical receipts. All right. But what I'm really interested in today is I want to actually capture a new receipt. And I'm going to use, again, this document recognition functionality to facilitate the entering of the receipt. So I'm going to take a picture of the receipt using this little camera button down here on the bottom. And I have a Walmart receipt from this past weekend that I'm using as the basis for my transaction. So I am just going to go ahead and take a picture of that. Okay. I'm going to, I think it was moving my phone a little bit, so it wasn't sure how much of the receipt I wanted to capture. So I'm just kind of drawing a box around that. And then now I'm going to go and I'm going to hit my little done button. Okay. So it's uploading, and it's actually scanning through the receipt to see if it can recognize, you know, who the vendor was, how much it was for, what's the date of the receipt, right? And it's automatically populating my expense receipt transaction here. All right. So it saw, put Walmart for a description. It captured the date. It captured the amount. Okay. Now within the expense module, we have the ability, I'm going to expand my details section here. We have the ability to set up employees with a corporate card. Okay. They could also use corporate card for a personal expense, or this could just be a receipt that they're entering where they use their own personal account or their personal funds. Based on these three selections, actually Acumatica is going to behave a little bit differently, right? So if we do a corporate card, when this goes over to AP, it's actually going to go over under my corporate card and get paid with my corporate card vendor. If I use my personal account, it's going to create an AP bill for Maxwell Baker so I can reimburse him because he used his personal funds for that, right? So I'm going to take the default right now, and I'm just going to use the company card, right? And I'm going to do a lookup on my expense items. And I'm going to say this was office supplies. So the expense items that they're seeing here, right, you define your list. This controls which GL accounts, right, this expense is going to end up getting posted to, but you control this list of items that you want to create and make visible to your employees. I'm going to hit my save button up here at the top. Okay. And so now I have another Walmart transaction here in my list. But if I go over to Acumatica, let me bring this up, and I go over into my time and expense, and I go over to receipts, okay, I will immediately, here's the receipt that I just entered here. Okay, so again, real time, it's landing in the Acumatica database. Now, based on whatever expense reimbursement cycle you run, maybe employees have to remit, once a month or once a week. What they can do is they could be uploading these expenses as they occur as receipts. And then the next step is for them to create what's called an expense claim out of it. The expense claim is going to take all those open receipts that you select, and it's going to aggregate it onto basically like an expense report. All right. So we're going to move forward with the assumption that we're actually ready to go ahead and create a claim. So you can do this on your mobile app. I am going to do it here on the web app, just to kind of give you a flavor of this, where I'm going to go into my expense claim. As far as approvals, I have mine automatically set up for approvals. You don't need to do approvals. If you don't want to, you can skip that part if you don't have approvals and just let your AP clerk deal with it. But here I am entering a claim, so I can maybe put whatever my cycle is for my expense reimbursements. I'll just use today's date. And then when I hit add receipt, here's where I'm going to see all those individual receipts that I've been capturing and uploading throughout my phone. So I'm just going to, I only have this one, so I'm just going to select that. And then I'm going to save this and submit. And I can go ahead and approve that. All right. So the expense claim has been submitted. Again, if you want to have approval process after it's been submitted, you can do that. So I have this pending approved claim out here. Going back to my AP clerk dashboard, at this point, from my perspective, having this approved expense claim, it's almost like having someone hand you, an Excel expense reimbursement form with all the receipts attached, right, for you to review. Instead of having that manual paper, right, we now have it here inside of Acumatica where your AP clerk, right, they could see they've got a couple claims to review. They can open that up. Before they go ahead and approve that, they could look at each of the receipts, right, that have been submitted. So they could see the expense item that it was coded to, the dollar amount. And if they click this little yellow piece of paper, here's where they can see the image of the receipt. So they could use this to go ahead and verify the transaction. Okay. Now, if everything looks okay, they can go ahead and release this. And upon releasing the expense receipt, this is actually moving this transaction down into our AP module. Now, because I said this was an expense that we were paying with the corporate credit card, if I navigate over to my payables module and I go into my quick checks transaction, this is where we're going to find this receipt. Here's my supplies for $92.48, and there's the attachment right here. Again, if I needed to review the receipt from payables, it's here. But because it was paid with the corporate credit card, you'll notice here's the employee, but it's marked paid with the Visa corporate card. Now, within my claim, if I had multiple receipts, maybe some I used my own personal funds, others, perhaps I used a company credit card. When you release that claim, Acumatica is smart enough to determine how that expense was paid, and it's going to break up those receipts potentially into different transactions here. So it will break up all of the ones paid by the corporate card as a quick check or a bill that was paid by the credit card. If you need to reimburse your employee, it's going to create a bill for you automatically. Over here, and we actually had a sample of one that I did right here a couple days ago in preparation for this, where it actually creates a bill for Maxwell Baker for that amount, and it's sitting here waiting for you to remit payment to them. So again, pretty cool how just Acumatica out of the box has this expense management module with the document recognition fully integrated here into AP. Okay, how are we doing for time? Ooh, time flies by. All right, so let's quickly move on a little bit into our AR module. We're going to talk about some of the automations that and capabilities here inside of Acumatica versus what you can do in GP. So just really quick, I want to know, I'm going to jump over to my invoices and memos, and I'm putting aside my AP clerk dashboard. We're shifting gears here to a different role. One thing I wanted to note just real quick, just like on the payable side, on an invoice here in the receivables module, we do have the ability, I'm going to use my widget, actually Alt-ISA is who I want to use because we're going to do a credit card payment on this invoice once I have it entered and released. But just like on the payable side, you have the ability to create an invoice at a line level where inside of GP, if you're using receivables invoicing, it's just a one-liner, and you only have the ability to do it, kind of a short description. So lots of flexibility to break out all the different items that you're going to be invoicing your customers for. Okay, you could use some predefined, non-stock items such as service items that you might be billing them for, where the GL accounts would automatically be populated. Or again, if you don't want to have those non-stock items defined, you certainly could just put in your own description, put in services. You could do a quantity. Let's see, do I have hour here? I'll do minutes. I don't see I have hours set up, and we could say, it was actually I want to do 60 minutes at a rate of $100 a minute. Wouldn't we like that, huh? So here our invoice is $6,000. So I'm going to go ahead and release or take that off a hold. Again, if I wanted to add additional lines, I could, something you don't have in GP today. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and release this. Again, we can release transactions individually or in mass. But here's why I want to show you that Acumatica does have the ability to process credit card payments with its core functionality. All right. Before I go ahead and process this credit card payment, I do want to print the invoice. So I'm going to go ahead and print. And if you have a third-party credit card processing company, you could actually utilize their click-to-pay options, where they allow you to have a link on your invoice that almost brings them to like a portal where they can just go ahead and make the credit card payment or ACH payment, whatever you allow, directly online through their portal, and that will integrate in automatically into Acumatica. Now, while this functionality does require a third party to do that, and it's not through Acumatica's out-of-the-box credit card processing, we have found that customers who utilize a third party for their credit card processing actually save money, because they offer, a variety of gateways that you can use, which, have better rates than like the out-of-the-box authorized.net. So while it's a third party, we see people saving money instead of having it cost them money, like, most add-ons would. And then you get that ability again for that click to pay, so that it makes it easy for your users to remit payment on their invoices. So just want to mention that functionality that is available. I'm going to go back to my invoice really quick, and I'm going to go and I'm going to say, hey, I want to pay this invoice. So I'm just going to hit my little pay button. Okay. This customer is set up where we actually have a Visa card on file. So you have the option to save cards on file or just enter them on the fly and not save them. When they are saved on file, they are fully tokenized and compliant, so there's no worries about there. So this customer, we happen to have it on file, so it populated. So all I need to do now is go ahead and capture. So the capture has been completed. If I go over to my credit card processing tab, here's where you can see it did use that authorized.net connector, and it went out and approved and authorized and captured the transaction. Okay. So this is waiting for you now in your banking module to make a deposit out of this as you receive funds for your credit card transactions. So that's pretty cool. Really easy to use, really easy to set up. Now, what I want to show you next in receivables is something that we did at Cal that has saved us so much time in our accounting department, and it also has reduced our AR balances. And what we did was we utilized a tool called Business Events to automate our collections process. And I'm just going to kind of show you those business events that we have set up in our environment. Actually, we have them set up over here too, I believe. So business events. Okay. So I have this collection of events that I'm already filtered on here, where we have a couple of events firing once a day. And each of these events are looking for certain transactions where it's going to notify customers of either upcoming invoices that are due or invoices that are past due. All right. So we have an event here set up where any invoice that's coming due in the next 15 days, when the schedule runs, it is going to, let me just bring this up so you just kind of see how this is built. So there's a rule here where we're looking at transactions, AR invoices that are from today plus 15 days, so 15 days out. If it finds one, there's a schedule that's running here, and you can see you can set up the frequency of the schedule. So this is running daily at 12:35. You can set this to run at any time, middle of the night, and any frequency that you would like. So this is, again, running daily at 12:35. And when it runs, if there's any customers that have an invoice that's coming due in the next 15 days, it's going to create an email notification. Okay. And it's going to email our main contact on the account. Again, you can define which contacts you want emailed. And in here, this is the messaging that's going to be in the body of the email. And then we're attaching the actual invoice. Okay. So if I go over to my all emails, you're going to see some emails that fired based on that rule. Okay. So here's one right here that fired actually a couple days ago. We kind of got one in the queue where it picked up an invoice that just came due within 15 days. Okay. So here's the body that's going out. This is our customer. It's giving them the invoice number, the due date, what the balance is. but here's the actual invoice that gets attached. Okay. So we have this is configured so that it's, again, starting to notify customers not only after they're due, right, but being proactive. Let me just go back over to my events, and it's notifying them 15 days. Hey, you got an invoice the day before it comes due. And then there's some reminders in here set up where when your invoices become 45 days past due or 75, again, it's kicking in. This has almost completely eliminated any manual effort in our collection process at Cal. Very rarely do we have to reach out to any of our customers to, try and collect funds, or, sometimes you just misplace invoices, right? Through these automations, if an invoice was missed or, misplaced, they're getting a copy of that again. So again, you can determine the frequency that you want to send out these notices. If you want to be proactive before they're due or a certain time period after they become due, right? We can totally automate this for you, which will reduce, again, the manual phone calls or the manual reaching out of your customers for collections. And again, these invoices that go out can have that click to pay link on the bottom so that they can make the payment online themselves. Again, reducing the amount of time it's going to take for someone to have to manually go in and record a payment. All right, so that was a big time saver for us here at Cal. Now, I know that over the past couple of months, we've been sending out some emails to our GP customers like yourself, and I believe you all should have received these, which is kind of taking you through Cal's story and Cal's journey of its transition from GP to Acumatica and the benefits that we've seen. So I just want to bring to light a couple other benefits that we've really experienced through our journey of navigating to Acumatica. And I'm going to bring over a couple dashboards that we have in our system. And the first one is our support case dashboard. So prior to implementing Acumatica, when we were running GP, we had very disconnected systems. Our support cases was in a system that was totally outside of GP because GP didn't have that functionality. And we had a full-time person on staff that was managing all of the support cases that were coming into the organization. She was taking phone calls, she was taking emails, she was having to document that and then go into our system and, manually re-enter them there, find the right consultant that either works on that account or has the right skill set to take that ticket, assign it to them, manually notify them that they had a new ticket assigned, and so on. And then even when the consultant worked with that ticket, it was very manual in their communication, which gave our support manager no visibility, right, to the communication that was going on with the clients. And then lastly, even from a billing perspective, we had no way to connect the time spent that the consultant recorded in the case, right? That did not make its way over into our billing system or our time entry system. So that was very, very manual. With the implementation of Acumatica and using their support module, we've been able to basically take that full-time position and consolidate it into another position within the organization that requires almost no time or effort throughout the day. And how we did that was we are utilizing Acumatica's their emailing functionality, where we have a support@calzone.email account set up that users like yourself can email directly into if you're having an issue and you need some support. When we receive that email in Acumatica, it's automatically recording a case for us. All right. It's finding your email address, which we have in Acumatica, right, and connecting that case to your account when it creates that case, all automatically. Now, on most of our accounts, sometimes we do get some partner changes where, we don't have a consultant that had worked for Cal to implement you. So on most accounts, though, we've done the implementations and we have owners. We have consultants that are familiar with you assigned to your account. And so automatically when that case gets assigned, we look to see through some automation who's the consultant on this? And we will assign them to the case and send them an email automatically that says, hey, a new case just came in for company ABC. Now, most of the time, the consultant, right, they're there, they're ready to jump on it right away. Sometimes, right, they're either on vacation or maybe they're on phone calls or doing training sessions, and they're not able to accept that case that was assigned to them right away. That's where that full-time support position that has now been consolidated into another position within the organization, that's where that individual takes over. And this is what this dashboard is basically alerting her to is, hey, we've got some unassigned cases in the system that haven't been accepted. So anytime we got a case sitting out there for more than 30 minutes, so we like to be proactive with our cases. When it's 30 minutes or more, not only does it appear on this widget where Anna's going and now trying to find a consultant to take these cases, but she gets an email saying, hey, Anna, there's a couple cases here that are more than 30 minutes old. You need to go find somebody. So through the dashboard and through that emailing, she's notified, and she's able to actually look at this same dashboard to see who's available for support. Okay. She'll also look across the case to see, is there an owner assigned, or the people who typically work with this account? And then she'll look to see if they're available for support, so she knows who to reach out to without really having to do a whole lot of research. So us as consultants, right, we're updating our availability on a regular basis. If it changes, if it doesn't change, we don't touch it, saying whether or not we're available and where we're working. The other piece that she gets to see is she can kind of see the caseload of different consultants when she's trying to find, someone to take that ticket. She can go and look to see, well, do they have, one case? Are they backlog with 10 cases? Again, without even having to leave this screen, she's able to, make the best decision as to who can help her or who can help that company the quickest. So again, this used to be a full-time job. With these automations that we've put in place, again, it probably is no more than, I'll say, 30 minutes of this individual's time each day to handle these cases. Otherwise, it's fully automated. So pretty cool. Same thing with our renewals dashboard. So, we have 1,000 contracts across all of our customers that renew. Before implementing Acumatica, we used to have to keep Excel files and lots of manual, sheets of paper to track when our customer contracts were up for renewal. Now, through the use of the data inside of Acumatica, right, we're able to easily track, is someone past the renewal date? What's pending? Did we miss an email? And if so, why, right? We're doing research on all these as these are appearing in our widgets. What's gonna be renewing in the next 30 days? So we can kind of see what's our workload. How many do we have renewing in the next 30 days? Again, we had no insight to any of this information whatsoever prior to coming to Acumatica, because it was all manual, it was all in spreadsheets or actually in sheets of paper that someone had on their desk. Other things that we've really enhanced when it comes to renewals is letting our clients know when their renewals are expiring. So if you didn't remit payment, right, we got notifications going out to our clients saying, hey, you're expiring in 14 days or you're expiring in 7 days. So we're able to be proactive, but proactive in an automated manner. Our renewals employee doesn't have to manually keep track of the ones that are expiring and manually send out emails, right? The system is doing that for her automatically. So again, that is really, helped facilitate and streamline our renewal process. All right. So lastly, I just want to point out is financial reporting. So George had mentioned financial reporting inside of GP, right? I know most of you guys are probably using Management Reporter. There's a few people left on FRX, which is very similar to Management Reporter. If you are one of those running reports, you will know that when you kick off that report, you can at least go have a coffee break, right? Before you get the output on that report. Depending on the level of data, sometimes you're going to go to lunch before that report outputs. Inside of Acumatica, Acumatica has its own financial report writer. Very, very similar concept as Management Reporter, where you've got rows, you've got columns. Instead of trees, they call it unit sets, where you build these out and you can mix and match and marry them together into reports. So just want to quickly just show you just kind of what some of these, what a report looks like. So here is a profit and loss report. I can go ahead and run this. Watch how quick this populates. It's instant. So I know all of my financial people that come from GP to Acumatica, they're just, doing a dance right now, seeing how fast this outputs. Within the report, I've got drill down capability, which brings me to a breakout of the balances for that account versus on sub accounts. And I can even get down to a detailed level with a click of a button. So now I'm looking at all the journal transactions. From here, I could even open up the original invoice or EP bill or whatever the source of the transaction. And you can see how quick that is. Again, like GP, you can look at this in a tree format if you wanted to. Oh, I'm in the wrong one. Let me just pop back over here. So if I wanted to look at my report, maybe based on a product line, in this case, it's based on some branches. I just click on it and immediately it's filtering that original report that I ran based on that unit set, in this case, branches. So again, just the power of Acumatica because of all of the integrated features and functionalities versus GP using, external applications to accomplish all of this. So that's the final thing I wanted to kind of show you today. I'm going to turn this back over to George. And thank you for your time, and I hope that this was all helpful to y'all.
Thank you, Stacey. Appreciate all the effort both you and the Cal team put into that session. I hope everybody, saw some of the, things that get us excited. So I'd like to open up the floor to any questions. Anything about, conversion process. Basically anything that might be on your mind, anything you've seen that, or just some feedback. What did you think? What did you think of the user interface? Some of the things that Stacey showed in terms of the AP automation, expense automation. I think the workflow is very powerful. So open it up for questions. See if anybody has any questions. If you want to unmute yourself and ask any questions, both myself and or Stacey or the rest of the Cal team would love to, hear your feedback or just answer any questions you might have.
Hey, George, this is Jeff from All-Star.
Yeah, hey. Hey, Jeff, how are you doing?
Good, thanks. No, what I saw today, I thought everything looked great. One of my first questions that I would have is there any update on GP end of life or any other concerns that you guys are aware of yet?
I mean, honestly, we're all, we're very honest, Jeff, with where GP is. GP, the last major update for Great Plains was 2018. What I mean by an update means that the last time that they changed the database structure in any way. Right now we're on 18.4, which means that 18 was the last, major update to Great Plains, and .4 means that we're on the fourth hot fix. And they do put a few features, in these .1, .2s, .3s, .4s, but they are not doing anything in the way of major investment. There was some confusion and there was some, I guess, sensitivity that about a year ago, they only had the roadmap going out to 2025, which, is only 3 years from where we are today. They did extend that, to 2028. But honestly, with Microsoft, it's really hard to know what exactly, what support till 28 means, So, that is I guess for lack of a better word, that is the Microsoft stance that they have delivered to us as partners. So I hope that answered your question.
Yep, no, it did. And then my follow-up question to that would be, what's the typical time frame? So if you selected somebody with Acumatica for that data migration, Like from start to finish, what does a normal implementation take?
It's a good question. I mean, there is some remapping a little bit on the GL side. Like Stacey says, the sub account is a separate field. But again, your size of your chart of accounts, if you've got, you could have 5,000 records, and then after we convert you have, one natural account, and then you have one variation in the sub account for each variation you might have in any of those other segments in GP. We've got a tool that does some of the remapping. But to be honest with you, sometimes just downloading, the transactions out of something like Smart Lists and, remapping them over. You guys do a little bit of distribution, but I mean, typically if it's a, financial, based company that's doing, general ledger, accounts payable. I mean, we, in some cases, if it was, just, AP, AR, banking and GL. I mean, the process could be, as simple as, 3 to 5 weeks. If you're a little more complicated business model and maybe, you're doing some cleanup, maybe you want to rework your, your item master or sales orders or things of that nature, it might be a little longer. So I guess basically what I'm saying is it depends on, what we're doing during the process. If we're just taking everything and remapping what we have in Great Plains into Acumatica, it might be a couple of month process, unless you're one of those financial companies, which, like I say, could be done in weeks versus, a couple of months.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, and as you mentioned, we're heavy users of the SOP POP. And I know we really didn't go over that today, but, obviously we're distributing warehouse. So, for further conversations, if we proceed to keep moving down this road, we'd like to see how that all interacts.
Jeff, if you go to our website, we actually have done, this is our third series of Lunch and Learns. You can actually look at a Lunch and Learn we did back during the early stages of the pandemic in 2020, where, again, we did user interface, financials in the second session, and then we did touch on sales order processing and purchasing in the third session. But that one is a generic, and again, you can watch those and skip, what sections you don't want to, spend time on, especially me talking in the beginning of each one of them. And then last fall in October, we actually did another Lunch and Learn series, similar in some respects, but we actually correlated what we were doing in Acumatica to, similar GP functions. Stacey did a great job of those. Those were in October. That's what we call our Acumatica versus GP series. Again, took the same situation where we did user interface. We spend time on things like generic inquiries, which are similar to Smart Lists in Great Plains. And then we did a financials, comparison. We did touch a little bit on accounts payable and AR, and then we also did sales order processing. We did a little bit of CRM, and we did POs and things of that nature. So that might be one just to go take a look at. Skip over me speaking in the beginning, and you can just see the product there. And then this one was really more focused on the automation side, showing you some of those things that this XRP platform can do that, that's really built into the core system, without going to these add-on apps that you add on to most other cloud-based systems. I don't know if that helped a little bit, but we could always, do a personal review too, where we could spend some time where it can be more interactive than the recorded demos.
Great, thanks. I'll check those out.
Yeah. Any other thoughts? I see Michael, Sharon, you guys are still on. Any questions there or any feedback on what you saw?
Hi, George. This is Sharon, also from All Star with Jeff. One quick question. How many clients has Cal transitioned from Great Plains thus far?
Well, we did ourselves 5 years ago. And honestly, we wanted to be respectful of the, let's call it our core platform we had for, literally 25 years. So we haven't really pushed too many clients in that direction. And up until Great Plains functions, still very well. We've done about, I believe we're on our third one. Again, we didn't really start pushing on these Lunch and Learn series until last year, and we've done 3 so far, but we're starting to see a lot more interest because clients, they just want to be able to have more easier access, versus terminal server or remote desktop. We're seeing a lot more people kind of saying, hey, what is this cloud all about? But yeah, we haven't been very pushy with our clients. We're going to continue to probably do more of these Lunch and Learns on a more frequent basis, because we think that there's a lot of reasons now to look at this. And again, we have a lot of people that the security issues we've seen in the last year. We've also seen a lot of our clients that are having to replace servers and purchase all new licenses on their servers. And Microsoft hasn't made it easy in terms of the technology behind Great Plains, because Great Plains isn't really getting updated. Let's say from a technology standpoint, getting it to work with Windows 10 or Windows 11, and all these security patches that they're having to do. It's just becomes a little more difficult for an older product to work with what's going on the database and operating side, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yep. One other question. What built-in capabilities does it have in regards to sales tax calculation?
It has literally all of it actually has all the same engines and more. I mean, if someone wants to use Avalara, because they're they've got a lot of exposure, and Avalara plugs and plays with Acumatica even better than it did with GP. But then there's also other tax engines that don't even work with GP, like TaxJar, and I'm trying to think of the other one that might be out there.
Vertex.
Vertex, yeah.
Yes.
I mean, there's probably 5 tax engines that work with Acumatica, and there's probably 2 that work with GP. And because again of that API interface, that application programming interface, that's like a universal language that cloud talks to cloud. These solutions, I would have to say, are more interactive, to the base application.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Hi, Lori. Did you any thoughts, Lori, at what you saw? I see you're still on.
Yeah, I had a couple of questions. So we use BR Data as our warehouse, our back office.
Yep.
And we a lot of our invoices are in BR Data because that's how we receive a product.
Yep.
Is there a way to get that into Acumatica? Because it's probably like 85% of our invoices go through BR Data for receiving.
Yeah, are these vendor invoices for product that's being received that you have to then create a payable on?
Yeah, they are. Yep.
Yeah. So just if you just think of it a couple of different ways. First of all, Great Plains has an engine for importing transactions into an AP screen, or but it's an add-on tool. It's part of the customization suite. It costs extra money, and it's called IM, Integration Manager. Acumatica has a tool, that's called Import Export Scenarios, and that tool is part of the core. You don't have to buy an additional solution for it. We could use that solution to create those invoices, literally on, for lack of a better word, just as an import. We used to have a bunch of Wendy's franchise, chains, and we actually did use the import manager to bring in those bills so that they'd be in AP. But the problem, in some respects, that frustrates us with Great Plains is that the AP side, it's only summary. You can't see the detail. Where Acumatica, I think Stacey pointed out, both on the AR as well as on the AP side, you can bring those, bills in, but you can actually say what they're for. And that document recognition, which is basically, what a technology that I like to call AI, artificial intelligence, basically, drag the PDF over, it finds, what the vendor is and matches it up, and it learns over a period of time, what you should be looking at with which invoices. So that bill could be then brought over, not only to say, all right, we owe this vendor, $1,830, but, down below it might say that, that was lettuce or it was tomatoes or whatever. And then when you, go back to pay a bill or you're looking for it, you have those details, which you don't have in GP unless you go all the way back to sales order, to purchase order processing and bring that in as an unmatched receipt and then bring it over to payables. And then you can do some drill down from GP, but sometimes a lot of the AP screens won't go all the way back over, to the purchase order side, where again, if that detail in Acumatica is entered with the AP voucher, you'll have that available.
Yeah, I think we would have to get on a call and kind of a demo the other way where we show you what we do in order to see if it would work. Because we only use GP basically for our AP. We don't have AR and our our general ledger.
General ledger and banking and AP. But yeah, I mean, we could, you could provide, if you could provide us with a couple sample of invoices that you talk about, you just basically are dragging the PDF. I mean, you obviously have to have,
it's not like that. It's not like that. That's why I said we would have to do a demo with you on the other side to see if it's
okay. Yeah, that probably would fall more into not the AP recognition side. We might just utilize the import-export scenarios, because if those vendors that are bringing that information in might be different for the different vendors and the different products, we might be able to build something with the import-export scenarios that would be more efficient and more automated.
Yeah, and that's what I want to see before I make the final decision, because I was kind of on the GP, the latest version, but it seems like this is, more of where things are going in the future. So I want to make sure that it's not something that my AP clerk is going to go running and pulling her hair out, not being.
No, we don't want that to happen. I mean, both Mark and Stacey, they could have a call with you. Stacey is actually somebody that I think at one point went out to your facility, if I remember right.
Stacey. Yeah, I worked with Stacey.
Yep. So, we could, again, just have a call, revisit what that is, take a look at how we can make things better, and go from there.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah.
So Stacey, whenever you want to schedule, that would be great, because I want to make this decision sooner than later.
Okay. I'll send you an email and we can just coordinate a time that works for the two of us.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Okay.
Look forward to it.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any other questions that's left?
George, this is Tim Wingate from Hunger Mountain. We're heavy on the AP side too, and we use a lot. We have a lot of paper, so getting away from that would be great. What's your lead time for doing some of these conversions? We be looking probably first quarter of 2023, which is our third quarter, January, February, March.
Yeah, no, Tim, you're, we've talked already. I think you've seen some of the pricing. To be honest with you, we're, I don't want to minimize the fact that, because any conversion, is a conversion and requires, coordination between your team and my team. But we could, do, something, at the level that you're doing, where it's just financials, almost any time. You know what I mean? Okay. Because it's when we talk about a financial implementation, even if it's a new financial implementation, I don't want to use the word simple, because, again, it's not always simple, but it is something that we can get to very quickly.
Yeah, and we've really been ramping up the Acumatica side of the house in anticipation of upcoming conversions and things like that. So from a resource perspective at Cal, we're in a really good place to be able to work
Right.
with new clients.
So, Stacey, how long did it take for staff to pick up on Acumatica after you implemented?
I tell people within 2 weeks of using the system, they totally forget even how GP works. Really, they go back in the GP and it feels clunky and like, where do I go? I mean, the transition once they start using it is, again, it's just a matter of a couple weeks and they forget all about GP. It really is a user-friendly system. And there's a lot of people that get frustrated with how GP works and just kind of the clunkiness of it. And so they welcome Acumatica when we start showing it to them.
Great. Yeah, I'll reach out to you too, because we do use integration. So we have a couple of things that run both on we import our payroll register from our payroll service. And then also big one is UNFI, which is our main distributor for food. And we go out and get a flat file. It pulls it into AP and actually goes out and looks at the product line and assigns the department code for that inventory level. So, but, yeah, great. That's it for me.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, if there's no other questions, I just want to thank everybody for their time. All right, everybody have a great week and a great weekend and a happy rest of the summer.